Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uranium Market Minute. Today is Wednesday, March 16th, and this is episode number 93. My name is Justin Hune. I am your host. I'm the founder and publisher of the Uranium Insider Pro newsletter, the only investing newsletter that focuses solely on uranium and publishes on a regular monthly basis. As always, nothing in this video is intended to be investing advice. I'm not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please always do your own due diligence when it comes to investing and always take responsibility for your own choices. All right. Is there ever a dull moment in this market? No, there isn't. There is never a dull moment in the uranium markets, and that's probably why so many are attracted to it. The sheer volatility is just always exciting on both ends of the spectrum. In the mailbag section today, I'm going to talk about the earthquake that happened this morning in Japan and the ensuing selling that happened, followed by many of the uranium stocks finishing in the green today. And we'll get into the details on that in the mailbag section. I did not do a market minute yesterday. That was Tuesday the 15th. We had our March members only webinar. That went very, very well. If you are a member, you were not able to attend. That video of the replay is posted on the members area of our website, and you can access that right at the top. It's right around 2 hours. We had a special guest. We went deep into the weeds of the sector and got into some really, really good subject matter. A lot of it having to do with volatility, having to do with position sizing, etc. So with all of that said, let's just run through the daily scoreboard here. We'll take a look at the charts, and then we will go ahead and talk about the earthquake that happened this morning in Japan. Spot price of uranium actually flat on the day. It dipped this morning, but then it bought back up, sitting at $55.25 a pound mid-market. It slid about $3 a pound on Monday, but now it's seeming like it's finding a bottom here. As I mentioned on Monday, that we're going to see this frequently throughout this market. We're going to see fast runs up on a lot of buying coming from SPUT and institutional money flowing into the sector. And then we're going to see it pull back. And anytime the institutional money takes a pause and SPUT trades down to a discount to NAV, we're going to see traders in the uranium spot market taking advantage of that quiet moment and selling it back down. It's exactly what we're seeing. To be expected, nothing of concern whatsoever. Of course, those that don't know much about this market and are kind of tourists to the sector that might have come in the last month or two, that don't watch this channel, they aren't members to our newsletter. They think that a spot price that is falling by a couple of dollars after making a higher high means thesis invalidated, time to bail out. Clearly, that's absolutely nonsense. SPUT did not raise any new capital yesterday or Monday. Now, this is going to be a 2-day total because we missed yesterday. They did purchase another 100,000 pounds both days, Monday and Tuesday. They are now sitting on 51.9 million pounds total of uranium. Their NAV is 2.9 billion for SPUT. Unbelievable. Their year-to-date total, they've purchased 10.6 million pounds and they've raised 558.7 million in capital. That is in about 10 weeks' time. Astonishing. They closed at a pretty large discount to NAV yesterday of minus 4.15%. That was after trading down substantially. On Monday, they were close. They're pushing a 9 or 10% discount to NAV on Monday. Even in the dip on Tuesday morning, we're about the same, and they traded back up. So likely not in a lot of, likely no investor capital again raised today. Most likely, they are sitting on $60 million in cash, and they have raised 1.54 billion in capital since August of last year. What a powerhouse! Sector equity ETFs. The last 2 trading days, URA reported again a huge new share issuance, 2.1 million new shares. Uranium reported a decrease in outstanding shares of 125,000 shares. Again, this disjunct between these two vehicles largely has to do with the options volume on the URA vehicle with a much deeper options market. That get the mandated buying over those 2 days based on the issuance from URA, less the redemptions from URNM, 27.1 million new mandated buying over the last 2 days. So obviously the shares were hit really hard on Monday. Yesterday they opened weak, but ended up closing flat to slightly down. And today a number of uranium stocks actually closing in the green. So on that note, let's take a look at the charts. Starting off with URA, actually closed up today, 1.18% up with a very, very nice rebound following the selling that happened early in the morning upon the news of the Japanese earthquake. And again, the last 2 days, Monday was particularly brutal. Yesterday closed down about 2%, but we did see some dip buying right at that rising 50-day moving average. Now printed yet another hammer candle here. Looks like it's trying to find a bottom, trying to move back up after the selling that happened at the end of the week last week and at the beginning of the week this week. Of course, my take on this is there's a lot of hot money that does chase shiny objects in any sector. That came in last week on the news that the US was considering sanctioning Rosatom. That news did not follow through with confirmation, and the hot money that came in has now left. So we can wave goodbye to the traders and to the tourist traders and the short-term catalyst chasers. And again, just stick around for the mid to long term, because that's where the real money is made. Looking like this is a very constructive chart, in my opinion. So we'll have to see how this follow through happens. There's yet more news leaking through, which I will speak about in just a moment in the mailbag section as well, pertaining to potential sanctioning. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust up 1% on the day with a gigantic hammer candle here and some dip buying happening the last 3 days right at that sharply rising 20-day moving average. So pleased to see that, with uranium actually up on the day. Likely they did not trade, issue any new shares into the market and raise any new money. Possible they were back in the spot market. We will have to see. Either way, volume holding up, nothing extreme, but still nothing to shake a stick at. Cameco, really big, beautiful hammer here. Actually down 0.8% on the day, but all things considered, holding up pretty well. MACD looking like it's wanting to make a bearish cross here. RSI moving back down. Possible we could come back down and retest that 50-day. But again, we got rejected to that previous high from November, and it's likely we're making a higher low here for Cameco and most stocks in the space. All right, so two things I want to talk about. One is a piece of news that was being spread around on Twitter yesterday that was shared by Mr. John Quakes. If you don't follow John Quakes and you are invested in uranium, you are making a grave mistake. He is very, very on top of breaking news in terms of the uranium market and nuclear. He's at Quakes99 on Twitter. And most of you who are watching this are probably already following him, but if not, you really, really should be, because he's really on top of breaking news. So before I talk about that, though, I want to talk about the earthquake. So Japan reported a 7.3 magnitude earthquake this morning. It was about 10:30 a.m. Eastern time when that earthquake hit, and that's a big earthquake. So, but it's nothing close, or even remotely close to the size of the earthquake that happened in 2011 Fukushima with a 9.0 earthquake. Each 1 point in the Richter scale when measuring earthquakes has a strength magnitude of 10x the previous point. So 2 points is 100 times stronger. But interestingly enough, the actual energy that is measured from an earthquake is 31x with each point. So this earthquake that happened this morning was orders of magnitude weaker than what happened in 2011. With that said, it's still a pretty sizable earthquake. We hope that everybody there is okay. Still a good amount of shaking. I'm born and raised in California. I've seen a few earthquakes in my lifetime. They're not fun. They're definitely scary. But of course, the concern, especially this earthquake happened off the coast, similar place off the coast of Fukushima, the northeastern seaboard of the island of Japan. And, there were some alarmist headlines right away. But there was a statement that came out from the Prime Minister of Japan a few hours after it happened, basically saying that everything is normal, everything's fine at all the nuclear power plants in Japan that are currently operating and or just kind of care and maintenance. So there actually are no operating nuclear power plants on the eastern seaboard of Japan. This was shared by Art Hyde on Twitter in a comment that he made to my post about the earthquake being much weaker than the Fukushima earthquake. And a couple of notes on that. First of all, the nuclear power plants are built to withstand huge magnitude earthquakes. Okay, a 9.0 that happened in 2011 was the most violent earthquake that Japan's experienced in its history. That obviously resulted in a tsunami, and the tsunami is what did all of the damage and was responsible for most of the deaths of that event. The reactor at Fukushima Daiichi that did end up having a partial meltdown, that reactor was essentially undamaged by the earthquake. And what happened was the tsunami came and it flooded the backup power system. It flooded the diesel generators that were keeping the water flow happening to keep the reactor cores cool. So that was the biggest earthquake they've ever experienced, and the power plants across the country did not sustain substantial damage. And the same goes with today's earthquake. Even an earthquake large 7.3 didn't structurally damage any of the nuclear power plants. They're built for this. These things are really built in a very robust manner. So no worries on that. Yet another piece of, I wouldn't say it was FUD. It was just, there wasn't a lot of, misinformation being put out there like we had with the Zaporizhia power plant incident almost 2 weeks ago. But in this case, the market was concerned for an hour or two. And then we saw the dips being bought once the news came in. Oh, everything's fine. In my opinion, both of these incidents, both the earthquake this morning and the Zaporizhia, the fighting that happened at the Zaporizhia plant in Ukraine almost 2 weeks ago, are testaments to how robust these plants are. With that said, I also want to talk about the piece of news that Quake shared yesterday, and that was that there was a law review that went over details of an executive order that the Biden administration either has signed or is considering signing. I apologize, I'm not clear on that if it has already been signed. The details are still coming out on exactly what this means, but essentially there's sanctions across the energy spectrum in terms of new purchasing coming from the country of Russia. What does that mean for uranium or nuclear? We're not exactly sure. What it sounds like it means is that current contracts potentially could be honored. However, new purchasing going forward might be sanctioned. That's the kind of the general, very simplistic takeaway from this. But either way, even headlines 30 minutes ago showing Biden saying that he believes that Putin is a war criminal. The rhetoric is not calming down here. This is not about to go away. And in my opinion, the geopolitical shifts that are happening, that this incident is highlighting are much, much deeper and much, much longer lasting than the actual kinetic fighting that's going on in Ukraine. They could declare peace tomorrow and the actual fighting would stop, which would be absolutely wonderful. And we hope that happens very, very soon. But the geopolitical shifts that have happened over the past few weeks and are likely to persist, in my opinion, are very, very long lasting. And I don't think we're going to see an end to this anytime soon. So with all of that said, again, I reiterate, I believe the market is not discounting the potential for interruptions to the uranium market. And we're already seeing that not only in the potential for these official actual sanctions, but in terms of self-sanctioning that multiple players across the space are already doing. These are utilities in the EU, utilities in the US that are choosing to renege on contracts or choosing to sign new contracts with entities that are not doing business with Russia or from Russia directly, especially in terms of uranium enrichment and conversion from the Russians. So this is a really big deal for the market, and it's not likely to go away anytime soon. So we're still extremely excited, long and strong. Another exciting moment this morning with that earthquake, but all is normal, all is fine, carry on. And we saw the market rebound, even with some uranium stocks in the green today. Interesting to see. All right, I hope everyone is well. I actually will not be here tomorrow. I will have to be out of town for the day. We will see you on Friday with another Uranium Market Minute. Thank you for being here. Do appreciate you. Cheers and have a great day.